Hey guys, before this episode starts, a heartfelt and huge thank you and welcome aboard to our newest Patreon member, XP Coin. Glad to see you. And for everyone else, if you'd like to help out Game-Rave in any way possible, check out the Patreon link below. That being said, let's get to the episode. Hey everyone, as always, I am your host Jason from Game-Rave.com, and this is Game-Rave TV. With the Midwest Gaming Classic now a memory, one of the things I didn't mention in the present tense episode is that Chris and the good folks at GamingWithSwag.com were also at the convention. As luck would have it, Chris had called me over to talk about a peculiar PlayStation accessory that fell into his lap. After recognizing it and obtaining it for some research, I decided that by golly, it's about damn time I did an accessory review. So here we go. This leads us to the RaceCon controller, or RackCon for those uber literal folk. Released by a wide variety of accessory publishers, including Innovation and Docks, this extremely niche controller takes on the form of a remote controller car hand unit. In reality, it's basically a variation of Namco's Nijicon controller, which was famous for being a twistable style remote for racing games. Before we go any further, let's take a quick look at the controller. Alright guys, let's talk about the RaceCon. So, this is your actual controller. You have the trigger for gas and brake. You have the actual turn dial, which would turn your car left and right. Shoulder buttons up top. Up and down buttons here. And then over here you have a little suite of buttons with your left and right for digital, the A and B buttons, and then shoulder buttons again, plus the start button. So for example, if you were going to play Rage Racer, you would actually hold the controller like this, gas, brake, and then turn, like this. When you're in menus, you would actually use these guys to press left and right, and then these guys would go up and down. Kind of annoying, but if you really want to use this controller, you have to deal with it. The controller itself is actually pretty durable as far as build quality goes. There's a nice heft to it. It doesn't feel like cheap plastic. There actually is a really nice feel to this guy as well. You can set how, the wheel itself only turns this much, that's as far as you're going to go. But in the game, you can actually decide how much degree of separation center to endpoint is, which is really nice. The manual it comes with is also very clear and concise, and actually tells you how to set each setting for games like Ridge Racer Revolution, Air Combat, and so forth. There is one big glaring problem with this controller, though, and we'll get to that in a second. With the controller plugged in, our first game to test out based on the manual was Ridge Racer. I love me some Ridge Racer, and it becomes glaringly obvious after 10 seconds that the RaceCon has a learning curve, no pun intended. The steering wheel is insanely sensitive, and if you do not properly set it to the 30+ difference on the Nijicon's option menu, you'll be spinning out consistently. Once that mistake was corrected, however, and the controller turned so that I was actually steering left and right rather than towards and backwards, everything fell into place. Steering the car became second nature, and within 3 or 4 races I found myself placing third consistently. From a progress perspective, that's horrible, but from trying to adjust to a new controller, that's fairly impressive. The trigger is also surprisingly responsive and had the same depth of strength that the Nijicon had. The difference being instead of buttons 1 and 2, it's now a single unit being pushed forward and backwards as a trigger. With Ridge Racer proving fun, I decided to try out Air Combat with it, since that also supports the Nijicon. Here's where the RaceCon falls apart. With the RC remote shell, there's just no realistic way to hold the controller and fly a plane. Namco's offering made it work because you essentially had a controller with flap support. With the RaceCon, you can turn left and right, but in order to nose up and down requires pressing the arrow keys on the wheel. I gave up about 3 minutes in. Now, if you're well versed in the PlayStation library, you should have already thought about the absolute perfect game to use with this. That's right, RC2Go. The flipping remote-controlled car game played with the remote-controlled car controller. This is gonna be What do you mean it's not compatible? That's right, folks. Despite RC2Go having full Nijicon support, for whatever reason, the game will only recognize the RaceCon in menus. The moment you try and get to the actual race, the game throws up this unplugged controller warning with no means of escape. Heading into the options screen flat out tells you to plug the controller back in. So the only game that would truly, absolutely be a hoot to play with this doesn't work. Which begs the question, is the controller worth it? Not really. If you're hoping for something more than a coffee table discussion and fulfill its ultimate purpose, then you'll be sadly disappointed. If you're still on board for hunting one down, well, I've got great news. The damn thing is dirt cheap, and it most only costs you $20 shipped, and that includes brand new in the box. Anything higher is price gouging. Anything lower is probably desperation on the seller's part. Alright guys, that does it for this week of Game-Rave TV. Check back with us next week and we'll dive back into pause mode with something spinning up on the Neo Geo CD. As always, like, subscribe, and comment below. Let me know what your favorite oddball controller is, if it works or not. As always, have a great weekend, and above all else, play, laugh, and love. We'll see you then.